Welcome back to another episode of The Common Theory, the number one CPDH podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Gator, along with my man, Rohan. But sadly, today, we're short a member. We don't have our man Kungs here with us this evening. It's just going to be me and Rohan. So you guys are going to have to deal with us. But we have a very, very interesting topic for you guys. Before we get to that, we got to do our normal thing, you guys. Rohan, please tell me you've been doing good, my bro. Don't.
Yeah. No, this week is significantly better than last week. Last week we had a bunch of dog problems. Yeah, it was a rough week, but this week is definitely better. Working, doing a lot of Magic stuff. Played in a 60-card Pauper tournament locally on Thursday.
How did that go?
It went pretty well. I brought my boy Chum Guzzler out.
Yeah.
Eric came out. Eric placed second, and I placed fourth. We would have switched had my last match was actually against Eric, and I played myself. I made one small mistake, and that's how Pauper goes. You make one stupid mistake, and you pay for it.
You lose.
I paid for it, but I had a spicy build. I played, for those of you who are familiar, I played Familiars.
Bro.
I played
Familiars
FAMs.
It's good.
It's my favorite deck. And I was playing a spicy version of it with Snuff Outs, so Esper FAMs.
Oh, shit. Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a really good place in the meta. It's a sick deck. And yeah, it was a good time.
I mean, a lot of people say that deck is incredibly slow right now in the meta with like all the burn, like
it is
burn and stuff like that.
Well, it's great against burn. It's really bad. Like normally it's bad against anything that any deck that puts out really big guys and like turn 3 or 4, it suffers. And that's why you play Snuff Out. You play a bunch of big dudes. Like I do not care about your big dudes. And it gains a ton of life. And also, like, your Snuff Outs also trigger the Godfair is Faithful, so you're getting life off the Snuff Outs too. So it's like, mitigates, if you have like 2 Godfairs out, 1 Snuff Out only costs 2 life for free, which is like broken as hell. It's cool. It's a really cool deck with that addition. But yeah, it was fun. Got to spread the word of CPDH too, whenever I can, to the Pauper community, and they're actually picking it up. We have a few guys who are, checking out our videos and stuff and building some decks for themselves. They're all building tiered lists too. Like one dude is like, the guy who actually organizes the tournament, he's like, yeah, man, he's like, I'm really into like combos, so I built what I think it might be good, Ley Lore Weaver. I was like, yep, it's not bad.
Not a bad list, bro. Not a bad list.
Not terrible.
Just don't play that against me, bro. You just play that against all the other. Play that against the scrubs, bro. Like,
and he's probably the best 60-card Pauper player there. The guy's amazing. He's like a multiple-time tournament winner and stuff. RCQ guy. He's like, look through the late lore list. He's like, yeah, man. It seems like I can win really quickly with this list. I was like, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Good list, bro.
Not wrong.
Yep.
Went fast. But yeah, that's been me playing a lot of Magic, which is never a bad thing. How about yourself?
Same right now. Like nothing's changed. The crazy storms, crazy weather. We're going under. We have king tides right now, so like sea levels are like whoosh up here right now. Mm-hmm. A lot of streets are flooded. A lot of things are just like absurd at the moment. Excluding that, I mean, honestly, I can't complain, dude. I live in Florida. Like, it's beautiful. Like, literally all the time. Like,
true.
Like, if it's not raining, it's gorgeous. Like, love being here.
Seems nice.
Yeah, like
not bad. No, yeah, it's certainly not. You can't
complain. Yeah. Let's get into this topic, bro.
Yeah, let's do it.
So sadly, Kunks is not here with us, but we have a sick topic, and we're gonna have to put people through the ringer with this one, man. We got a hot topic for you guys tonight. Do you agree, Rohan? Like, we got a pretty spicy ass one for them.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Maybe a topic that's often overlooked, I would say, that isn't really considered maybe as much as it should be.
Just gonna go straight in as always, you guys, and I'm gonna introduce this topic. The overall metric is going to be Winconless Decks. Essentially, what that means to us are decks that don't have a definitive way to win the game. So, for instance, as a metric here for everybody, so we could kind of like give you guys an example of a deck. I'm going to use a deck by our editor, Izlain. So, Izlain is very well known in the community for their deck, Sybaris Cloakwood Hermit. This deck specifically has no definitive way to win the game. It has a bunch of little cards here, right? It attacks you a little bit here. It pokes you and prods you a little bit here. It has a gray merchant to cast 2 to 3 times, right? None of those, like, you can't guarantee you see that.
Right.
You can't guarantee you have this, right? It's just hope you see this, hope you get there.
And even like a Gary, right? Like you might hit someone for 12, right? But that doesn't win the game. You have to loop it. You have to do something beyond that to actually close out.
Exactly, right? Like, so we have to like dedicate these pieces to push forward to actually win the game, right? Mm-hmm. We're not going to be like, I'm going to draw this card every single game, right? Unlike the blue decks that we have in the format with the tutors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to be doing with you guys this evening is going through color by color, telling you the strongest emphasis on the color pie. So we're going to start with, we're going to go in Wooburg order, starting with white. And we're going to tell you the strengths and weaknesses. With that, now that you know what we're doing, we're going to dive in. We're going all in, and we're starting with white. Wooburg order. Why is white good? Rohan, tell me why white is good.
White is good because it can make your stuff not die or die less.
That's good.
Also, sometimes those same cards allow you to punch through and get a bunch of damage in, especially if you're playing like a combat-oriented deck or a Voltron deck. But basically, it's
protection.
Protection, right. At the end
protection.
Of the day, it's protection. It's things that give you protection from colors. It is stuff that gives your things indestructible, hexproof, all of those types of spells.
Name a few of them off for me.
Let's go through a few. Yeah, Blacksmith Skill, Emerge Unscathed, God's Willing, Lauren's Escape, Apostle's Blessings, Shelter. Stave off. Yeah,
just
Strands, right. Safe Passage. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, then there's the enchantments, so like Benevolent Blessing, Chomanos, like there's a ton. And there's also creatures that do it too. Benevolent Bodyguard,
Right. So what you're saying essentially is, so sorry to interrupt you there, but
yeah,
you're just on like this domino effect, right? You're just going and going and going and going. It sounds like you're just proving your point at this, right? Like you're just proving what you're saying is that white has just an inevitable amount of protecting the goal, which the goal is to punch through, protect the win condition, and win the game. How do you get better than that, right? If you don't have a combo, you don't have a definitive way to win the game where you're like, my goal is to do this every single time. I'm essentially one of those mid-range piles, right? I'm trying to find ways to punch through and figure things out. White seems to have this very valid point. Protect the thing that I need to win with. Whatever the thing is, it's irrelevant at this point. But white is there to support that plan. That's what white is doing. Do you agree?
I agree.
White could do it essentially, easily, from what you said. I mean, I had to cut you off. You just weren't stopping with how many cards you were saying at that point.
If there was a second thing that you want to add on to white, I'd say the other thing that it can do, at least for a mid-range pile, Winconless deck that we've seen in a few decks that do this, are the buff spells. It can beef up your things.
Yes.
It has either commander abilities that can do that, but then also you've got your Cartouche of Solidarity, your Ethereal Armor, your All That Glitters, your Sentinel's Eyes, but all of these ways to make something very large and then also inevitably then punch through.
Now, something that we did forget to say earlier, Rohan, which is kind of my apologies for that one, but is we need to make this clear to you guys. We are trying to be as commander agnostic as possible.
Yep.
Because what we're trying to do is relay to you exactly the color pie that we truly have in this format in the competitive sphere. So we want to make sure that when you look at white, you look at it for like the protection aspect that it has to be allowing you to punch through and to do these things irrelevant of your commander. Now, if your commander supports that, that just makes your deck that much more powerful.
Yep.
Is kind of what we're trying to get to. With that said, let's move on to the next color, blue. I'll just take this one. All right, I'm going to send this one all the way. We have the tutors. We have the card advantage. We have card selection. This is arguably the strongest color in our format, which is, let's be honest, not too far off of every other format. There's always going to be the strongest. I mean, blue does it all in our format. We get our ponders and our tutors. We get the ponder and we get the muddle of mixture, right? Mm-hmm. We have so many cards in this format that are just back-breaking. I know you're very high on the selection process of blue, Rohan. Hit me with like why the selection is so important to you. Now, without comboing, right? Like we're not talking about the combos. We're talking about I'm the control player. I'm going to hold everything else into the dirt. Mm-hmm. How am I doing that?
Yeah. And like to add to your point, we're not really talking about interaction here either, right? We're talking about the proactive things that these colors are doing to move their game plan forward.
Correct.
And I think, like what you're saying with this card selection and card advantage, blue represents momentum. It lets you move through your deck faster than everyone else can at the table, which is critical. It's super important, right? We're playing a four-player game. It's not a two-player game. But even in a two-player game, you have to move faster than your opponent. But in a four-player game, it's even more important. You have to move way faster because you have to move, if you're just moving one card ahead, you've got three opponents. You're still kind of at disadvantage. You're trying to move 3 or 4 cards ahead, right? How do you push through the deck that quickly? There are only 2 colors that really allow you to do that, and blue is one of them. So it allows you to do, in the deck building process, it allows you to run fewer pieces of interaction, run fewer bodies, run fewer pieces of ramp, run fewer lands, right? Run fewer kind of everything, because you can fill in those slots with that momentum, with those card advantage and those selection pieces that allow you to choose what you need way quicker. I mean, in a weird way, a good, strong draw spell is kind of like a modal spell. I mean, if you like really kind of abstract what you're doing here, it represents all the other cards in your deck, right? Like a card that lets you see 3 or 4 cards allows you to see land, allows you to see your ramp, allows you to see your creatures, allows you to see, like all these other pieces. So, is that not like kind of like a modal spell? So it's wildly powerful, right? A super crazy effect.
I completely agree with everything you're saying. Like being able to draw so many cards and being able to push and see so many cards literally sets you up, right? Mm-hmm. It essentially says, if your deck is built correctly, I could stop you from doing what you're going to do before you even do it, because I know what your deck is. I could see your commanders. I know your game plan. I know what you're doing over there, Gretchen. I now could stop you because I could proactively see and find these cards and continue to stop you from doing the thing. And then when you get to this point, I could play free spells. I could do this. I could do that. I could tutor prematurely for these cards, show them to you before I even have to play them, to make you aware of the fact that I have the card in my hand, and just bank it and just sit on it, because you're going to know that I have it. Everyone's going to know that I have it, and you won't be able to proactively do anything because I have this. So now you're forced to wait until you have a way to stop me from stopping you, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Blue is fantastic in our format, to say the least. So it has a lot of ways to continue to do everything it kind of wants to. So
I mean, that's the bulk of it. Obviously, the other part of blue is the interaction piece, which we're not really focusing on here because we're really trying to like talk about the proactive things that move your game plan along. Interaction is more about how you don't lose, and obviously critically important. That's a different episode, but yeah, being able to move through your deck fast is hypercritical. I mean, like every deck needs some way to do that, and some colors are better at that than others. Speaking of which, the next color is just as good, if not
Yes.
better at that. And I think has gotten significantly better at that in the past year to 2 years.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, you kind of alluded to it. Can you just take it away and send the next color?
Yeah. I mean, we're going in Wooburg order, so there's no surprise, right? It's black. It really does. It does two things that really move your game plan forward quite well. The first, like I mentioned, is the card advantage piece. I don't know if this is a hot take anymore. Probably not. But black is probably the best card advantage color in the format. Right now it is. I mean, I
don't know, man. That sounds like a hot take.
How many copies of Deadly Dispute do we have now? How many?
It's
that
absurd.
Card, that card is cracked. I mean,
we have
cracked.
We have Deadly Dispute with flashback, bro.
We have flashback Deadly Dispute. I mean, the insane, the amount of card advantage that's packed into this color now is just so crazy. And I think 2 years ago, I definitely would not have said this, but Wizards seems to keep printing more of these cards. So yeah, black decks can move. They are schmoving out here. And the other thing that black does really well is burn, actually. It's life loss. Chris, tell us a little bit about that.
Honestly, it's kind of like a misconception that we have in our format. So with a lot of the Winconless decks, black is one of the best color schemes to end a game, believe it or not. So the misconception factor that I'm specifically speaking about is that people believe that black is there to just always kill stuff and stops things from happening. But the truth is that we have burn. And I mean, I'm just going to use the headliner. Let's be realistic. I'm going to say the number one card that if you say burn or life loss in a pauper format, let's be honest, you guys already know what I'm going to say, but I have to say it. Gray Merchant of Asphodel. That is the number one way we could do it. It could be your commander. It could be in your 99, 98, whatever. It's in the deck, right? You're trying to burn people out. You're trying to kill people. You're playing Gray Merchant, right? How many other cards do we have in the format that actually can mimic or compete with Gray Merchant? And ironically, we have a metric ton.
It's almost 50.
Yeah, it's absurd. I'm going to rattle a couple off. Rohan, take it away from me after I name just a few that I personally play in some of my decks. So like a lot of my decks, I play a card called Basilica Screecher. It's a bat with Extort. So cast, Extort. I play Creeping Bloodsucker. That's a 60 card. That's in our format. Card is bonkers. One of the biggest cards that we all play. It's not burn, it's damage, but it's Crypt Rats. Once again, another commander and or deal damage, tap it out, end the game, right? We have Falconwrath Noble. We have Mirkwood Bats. We have Nadir's Nightblade. I mean, there's just an absurdity of these cards that poke and prod and damage. I mean, Rod, hit me with 5 or 6 more. Let's enlighten some people.
We've got the mother of all board wipes as Pestilence, right?
Yeah.
I can't forget that.
I mean,
we've got Marauding Blight Priest. We have Disciple of the Vault, Grim Guardian, Cauldron Familiar, Epicure of Blood, Ye Olde Bloodseeker. Still see that guy hanging around sometimes. Even a few more interesting ones like Okiba Reckoner Raid. In those like lower to the ground decks.
I mean that card is sauce, dude. Like sauce. That card is sauce.
Value.
I mean, it flips into a menacing beater.
Yeah,
Like,
that you can. That guess what? You can sacrifice the Deadly Dispute.
Yep.
Pulse Tracker. I mean, like the Larry deck, Loyal Subordinate is chock full of these cards.
Yep. That's just absurd, right? Like, let's be realistic. Like, that's just an absurdity amount of these cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
We already said this was going to be a hot take episode, right, Rohan? Am I able to give a little bit of a hot take with this one?
Yeah, let's go. Let me hear it.
From what we're hearing thus far, are we not just kind of pointing at, guys, you should be playing black and blue at this point, right? Thus far, you should be playing at least black and or at least blue. Are you trying to win the game?
Yeah, if you want to
win the game.
Yeah, if you want to move through your deck, you should probably be playing one of those two colors. I mean, of course, there are other ways. There are other ways and other colors to do these things, and there are very, very, very good decks that don't feature either black nor blue.
Well, so before we get to the next two colors, white protects the way you win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Blue helps you find the way to win the game.
Correct.
As of right now, black is the color that wins the game.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about Winconless Decks, right?
Mm-hmm,
so as of right now, black is the actual color that is winning the game. Do you agree or disagree?
Fair. I totally agree.
So if black is the color that wins the game, white and black together, beautiful. Mm-hmm. Blue and black together, beautiful. Let's get to my personal favorite color in the Winconless decks, because I do personally believe that this is a color, if you're trying to play Winconless deck, your deck has to play this color. Rohan, hit us with my personal belief of the strongest color in the pie.
Yeah. I echo your feeling there. It's we're doing Wooburg order, so it's no surprise the next color is red.
Yes.
It's also my favorite color as well. It's near and dear to my heart. It just keeps getting better. The things that it's doing, it's the one color that's really trying. I mean, red goes hard, it goes fast, so it's really kind of trying to push the damage through. It's trying to maximize the actual. We're saying black can do the win con piece, right? Because it's got the burn. Red obviously is like the classic burn color, so it's doing all of that. Plus, it's got the pingers, so it's got burn spells. It's got pingers. The burn spells trigger the pingers. It's just damage upon damage. It's also got
what else
bodies.
Does it has? Yes,
It's got the big bodies too, and those big bodies tend to be hasty and fast. So it's just pumping out damage, right? So this is going full bore, balls to opposing walls on just trying to win the game. And once again, this is kind of a more recent thing. It does now finally have some card advantage and card selection. It has ways to actually move through the deck. It's got your Faithless Lootings and your Tormenting Voices and all the different copies of that card. Yeah, it also helps it move through your deck. Maybe not as well as black or blue, but it is something that the color can do now.
I mean, it sounds like red is kind of insane.
Red's kind of insane. It's insane.
Right? I would argue if you're trying to win in the format, if you want to go to a tournament, you should have some sort of red in your deck. It could burn, it could ping, it could beat. What else is it supposed to do, right? Realistically, right? How much more do you need it to do? It's absurd. Oh, wait, by the way, it draws cards. Oh, it doesn't draw cards. I try not to use profanity too often on here, but it fucking draws cards. It exiles a card and you can only play it the next turn. Your cards are one fucking mana, dude. You're going to chain lightning someone to the face. You're going to kill their blocker, and then you're going to slam into them with your 7/4, 2/6, or whatever 6/3 ridiculous creature you have, right? Come on. It's red. You got ball lightnings. Come on. We're in popper. Slam into them, right?
Yep.
Red is doing the red thing. I would argue that red it's the only true historical color we have in the format, where it's doing what red has historically done forever, which I appreciate. I feel bad for the other colors, but still appreciate what red is doing. Now, if we go back, Rohan, and we look at, before we get to our last one of the night, we look at white, we look at blue, we look at black, we look at red. Sounds like if we push black and red together, we could have some pretty spicy ass decks, right?
I mean, you have an extremely proactive color combination with those two that can move through the deck really, really fast and get a lot of damage out on board.
We don't have that currently, though, in the format. Do you disagree with that? Like,
no, I don't.
It's interesting, right? Like, I personally believe that from what we've said thus far, red and black should be the best two colors to put together in this format.
Well, but I'll stop you there. They're the best colors if you're trying to be extremely proactive.
That's fair. Yeah. I would almost argue that sounds great, but maybe we don't have the commander to back that up. Could that possibly be why? Maybe we do, and no one has broken it yet. So
possible.
2 cents there, you guys. Bring a Rakdos deck. We don't see Rakdos decks in the format at all these days. We've said thus far is a proactive Rakdos deck. We're not talking about these Rakdos decks that is like sit on its ass and sit back and try to play the game. No, we're talking about proactive, burn, in your face Rakdos decks. So bring that. See what we can do at a tournament. But our finale, a very depressing finale, actually. I'm really hating the Wooburg order.
Brutal.
Green.
I can start it off and then I'll pass it along to you.
All right, man. Hit him with it.
All right. So, look, I know we're kind of hating on it right now. Green's not bad, but you have to contextualize what it's good at, right? It's not proactive in the same way as some of these other colors are. It just isn't. Just doesn't have that going on.
Yes, but, well, they know it's not, is it, bro?
Right.
They know that.
It's true.
So
it's true. It's not. But, what it does have is it's one of the strongest enablers for other colors that we have in the format.
Just we know it's not other colors.
Yes.
It's bad. But wait, what? I didn't. Who said that? Jesus.
Oh man. The Gretchen army is going to come for us real soon. So what's Green doing? It's making a lot of mana, right? It is proactively ramping itself, which enables the other colors to do their thing, right? So the more proactive colors get the benefit from, having the resources that Green supplies. That's predominantly what it's doing.
Hang on. So I have to interrupt you there because I think that is the biggest point.
It is. It's like 95%.
Yeah, but like, isn't that what people and us Magic players should like think about?
Yeah.
We should think about Green is going to give us the resources to do this, resources to do that, resources to have this. Not, Green can't win me the game. Who cares? Green gave me the resources to win the game instead of being mad that it can't win me the game. Is that kind of fair to you?
That is totally fair.
Instead of looking at green and white, like I think green and white are like our two outliers here on the list, right? White just protects our win condition. Are we going to look at white and go, white can't ever win the game? No. White makes sure you do win the game. Green makes sure you have the resources to win the game. I think that's like fair shit, right? Like, I honestly, I think that's exactly how you should look at the format. I need to make sure that I have this color with this color because the other color makes sure that this color makes sure I win. Maybe I'm a bit confused here, Rohan, but like, help me out here, bro. Like, if I'm playing a white and blue deck, I'm not going to depend on the white side to win the game. I'm going to depend on the blue side, right?
And based on what we were saying, you're going to have a bit of a struggle.
But fair.
That particular color combo.
Are we not going to do the same thing for like the other colors though, right? Like if I have a green deck, I'm not going to depend on the green side to win. I'm going to use the green side to make sure that the other color, whatever it is, wins the game. And let's just be honest. Let's pair red with green, which no one sees in our format. Why? Red could win. Green can help the red win. Don't we want that? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like, once again, based on what we're saying, right? If red is the most proactive color as far as like getting damage on board, it has a sub-theme of actual card selection and advantage. And if green supplies, the resources to move the red plan ahead, seems like a winning deck to me. That seems like a pretty solid backbone for a deck. It's like the Rakdos problem, right? There's only a few commanders right now that exist that really have a strong payoff in that color combination.
I agree. A lot of people give green shit in our format, and I do as well. But like green is still can help you and protect you. Like the ramp, the protection, the all the untappers. Like there's so many things in the format that are truly given to green to enable you. It's an enabling color. That's not a problem in my opinion. As long as everyone accepts the color pie for what it is in our format instead of what it is in the overall spectrum of Magic, deck building will become much, much more simplistic. Because we have a lot of improper comparisons, in my opinion, where they're like, oh, I need the big green tutors with the big 50-50 creature to do like all sorts of different weird metrics. And I'm like, yeah, but those aren't commons. And people are like, yeah, but they're supposed to be. No, they're fucking not. Like, you're not going to get a fucking tutor that says search for 2 creatures, 1 creature, instant speed, sorcery speed at what? Like, no, that's not what Pauper is. That's not what this format is about. And honestly, that's what makes this format great. Yeah. We have a different color pie spectrum. Sorry, green doesn't do what it does in different formats. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's very rare when we have cards that break the theme of the color pie in Pauper. And it's a good thing, in my opinion.
With that said, I think we're pretty much all done with this, you guys. Let us know. Let us know in the comments below if you kind of agree with us with this color pie stuff. We're just honestly trying to bring these kind of things to light for you guys. Like, bring the whole Uber color pie of what we have specifically for Winconless decks in this format. Because, I mean, these decks don't have ways to win the game throughout combos. Like, they're trying to loop these gray merchants and stuff like that. And we really want to know your guys' thoughts, your perspective. We're trying to do this, like I said in the beginning, commander agnostic, right?
Yeah. So the focus is on proactivity as well as opposed to reactivity.
Exactly. Throw your commanders in there. Let us know about the commanders. I'm completely down to where you could abuse the commanders because of our format, the commanders are very, 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 very valid to be able to use for a metric as well. But we're trying our hardest to not use them to be able to push these colors into a specific commander and then make that commander a tier deck, a tier list, and start bringing those to a tournament and winning. Like that's the goal. We want.
Yeah. Thinking about the color. Yeah, thinking about the color. Yeah, Chris nailed it. Thinking about the colors in this way is one of the best tools that we have at our disposal to figure out like strong deck building and figure out how to figure out what the new spice is in this format. And to do that, you have to start thinking in this way: like, how am I going to use these colors to their strongest advantage to be proactive, to move my game plan forward? All the reactivity and all that stuff can come later, but if you can't move your game plan forward, you can't win the game.
Completely agree. But with that said, guys, give us a comment down below. If you're not on our Patreon yet, please join us. We got a lot of cool stuff. It will help us. If you guys haven't noticed, we've been doing really well. We've upgraded our videos a lot. We're doing our best to make everything better and better every single time.
Shout outs to our editor, Izlain.
Yes, our editor has been doing absolutely fantastic for us recently. But with that said, Rohan, take us home, my bro.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for listening to us. Go on about these very niche specifics about the color pile. You can find, like Chris said, you can find us on Discord. It is now open for all, so please join us at the Common Theory Discord. You can find us on Patreon. Subscribe to us. You can get deck breakdowns, deck techs that we're doing regularly. Also, if you are interested in getting your deck played at an upcoming tournament by the Common Theorists, like what we did with Malcolm Breaches, with my deck at the last tournament that we were all at, join our Patreon, subscribe, and that's something that we can do. We can also do deck techs with you on your deck, as a benefit for Patreon subscribers. And then, hit us up on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we go live with videos, and we will see you next week.
Here's a shout out to all of our Patreons: Eric Christopher, Aaron, Dax, Devin, Rohan, Little Red Lotad, Kunks, and Scoob. Thank you everyone for all of your support.